So today is New Bike Day, and I love New Bike Day. New Bike Day is kind of like Christmas anytime you get a new bike, because New Bike Day is just awesome. And if you're into biking like I am, New Bike Day is a very special day because you get the opportunity to ride something a little bit different. Now, this isn't technically New Bike Day. This is 2 days after New Bike Day, and I've had a chance to ride this bike a few times, and I want to talk to you about what's so special about this specific bike. So hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so you were looking at the brand new 2020 Cannondale Moterra 3 e-mountain bike. This is a really special bike for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's an e-mountain bike. This is not a sponsored product. I went out and paid my own money for this thing. It runs $6,000, plus I did significant upgrades to it before it even left the shop, such as upgrading from the relatively low-end SRAM SX running gear, basically the derailleur, the front shifter, and the rear cog, and I replaced all of that with GX and NX. So now I have a GX rear derailleur, GX shifter. Also added my Wellgo platform pedals. Those mountain pedals have been with me for probably the past 20 years. Absolutely love them. Brought them with me because most of you guys know if you get a new mountain bike, they don't come with pedals. I will probably upgrade to my Shimano XT clipless pedals eventually, but not at this point. Added my little light. I really don't ride much at night, but the light is good if you're going to be riding anywhere around cars. It runs the SRAM guide disc brakes, 220 mil rotors up front, 200 mil rotors in the back. This thing is a beast, and it has the new Bosch Gen 4 motor on it. So this is a Class 1, I believe, e-bike, which means there is absolutely no throttle. It's only assisted, which means the motor only kicks in when you're actually pedaling. I've had this bike for 2 days now, and I've had a chance to put some miles on it, and it is a blast to ride. I've never owned a mountain e-bike before. All the bikes that I've ridden in the past that are e-bikes have always been kind of this fat tire, smaller bike that I would never trust to take on a real trail. Well, I'm here in Hill Country, San Antonio, and there are some really great trails here. There's some mild downhill trails, some very rough trails. There's several blue line trails here. Quite a few trails that can put a bike like this through its paces. And there are some trails actually around where I'm at right now. Lots of hills, lots of geography, lots of places to ride. Oftentimes, a lot of people think about e-bikes in general as a lazy man's bike. Basically something that you don't have to put any effort into, and it can kind of take you around without you actually breaking a sweat. Well, that is furthest from the truth when it comes to something like this. These are really designed to get you further out, to get you to places that you might not normally have the energy to go if you have a traditional mountain bike. Specifically when you're talking about areas with steep terrain where you might have to go uphill for a significant amount of time. The problem ends up being is you get uphill and you're completely spent. You don't have any energy to go downhill, and it can become dangerous. You might be dehydrated by the time you get uphill. And some of these uphill rides can really zap your energy. So having an e-bike like this gets you uphill much more efficiently, gets you uphill quicker so you can enjoy the downhills. Also, I can get much further out with something like this. Traditionally on my Santa Cruz mountain bike, I could probably be out for 25 miles before I really felt that I was running out of energy and I needed to call it a day. On a road bike, you can go out much further than that, but 25 miles for me is about a pretty good day on a non-powered bike. On something like this, I could probably go out for 60-70 miles. So a few things to understand about the motor on this. If I run it in its different modes, the battery will definitely take a beating in a different way. So basically how powerful I want the motor to assist me. So let's go over some of those settings real quick. All right, so the first thing I need to do is turn it on. Simply press the button on top of the controller here. It's on off mode. I have a walk mode on the bottom, which gives me the ability to walk the bike up a hill or something like that with mild assistance, which can really come in handy depending on the terrain you're on. I can shift through eco mode, which gives me the most battery life and the least amount of assistance. I can probably get upwards of about 50 to 70 miles on eco mode depending on the terrain. Then touring mode is what I prefer. This is essentially where it's going to give you very mild assistance, and it's going to balance battery life with assistance. So this is great if you have a lot of uphills and downhills, and you're really going to be out for a long ride. Then mountain bike mode, this is if I'm going to be going over a lot of rough terrain in a relatively short period of time. So let's say I take a 10-mile loop and I have a lot of uphill, a lot of downhill, a lot of chunky stuff that I'm going to be going up and down, and I need just mild assistance through all of that. This is going to balance that type of terrain, battery life, and assistance. And then turbo mode is if I want the most power all the time. Turbo is if I need to power up some really steep areas, get up something quickly, and just understand that it's going to take a big hit on my battery, but I'm going to get the most assistance possible. Now again, touring mode works really well for me, but the thing you have to keep in mind is you're still pedaling, you're still putting effort out, and if you're in the wrong gear, that's going to impact you more than anything. If I am in a very high gear and I try to make it up a steep incline, even with this on touring or on mountain bike mode or on turbo, I might not make it up simply because my gearing is going to restrict me. But the minute I drop this thing down into a low gear and I really want to muscle up something, that's where you can truly tell the difference between an e-mountain bike and any other type. Also, the amount of effort if you're going uphill, if you want to see how much it's actually helping you in any of these modes, just turn it off when you're halfway uphill and see what it feels like. It feels like an anchor's being dropped. It really feels like you're putting a lot more effort in. And because this bike weighs upwards of 50 pounds, you heard me right, 50 pounds, almost twice the weight of my Santa Cruz, you really feel the weight when you're not using it with the motor. So basically, if you have this turned off up here, which I can turn it off right there, instantly you have a non-e-bike. Your bike is going to be pedal power only, and if you are climbing anything, you will feel the weight of this bike. It feels like a old-fashioned beach cruiser ×2. Now again, I told you guys I upgraded my derailleur, so I have the SRAM GX derailleur, I have the SRAM NX rear 12-speed. I have the Guide SRAM brakes. These are 4-piston brakes. Brakes are very important on a bike this big. Up front, running a SRAM 12-speed front chainring. I might upgrade that at some point. That's actually a pretty nice chainring. Also, having a derailleur with a clutch built into it basically always applies pressure against the chain is important. That way your chain's not flopping around. That's a big distinction between lower end bikes and more expensive bikes. Guide brakes up front and my SRAM GX shifter up front as well. Anyways, enough talking. We're gonna hit the trails on the bike and let you tag along. Okay, so now I'm in eco mode and I am going to have some fun real quick. It is crazy how this little bit of assistance in eco mode really assists you. You just feel like you don't ever have to really stop riding. Now this is kind of cool. This is about a 4-foot little rock area. Find the right gear, see what we can do on this. No problem at all. That is really crazy. Go up this area. Let's try this right here. So here's a prime example of a hill. Now again, on camera you really can't tell much about hills, but without the motor on, this is definitely a bit of a climb. And you'll start to feel it right about here. Now I can always shift into a higher gear and it makes my life a little easier. But I'll be pedaling my butt off to get up this incline at a relatively slow speed, which is about 6 miles an hour. Now I can pedal faster, but I'm just burning more energy. So the place I want to go, I might not have the energy for. Now if I put this thing in eco mode, even in eco mode, I'm doing better. So when I get to the stuff that's a bit more challenging, I have the energy for it. I'm going to switch to touring. Sorry, it's a little chilly outside. I had to put a coat on. Then when you get to something like this, it's about 10, 11 feet. You might normally have to go up that way, but you can just power your way up it. with an e-mountain bike. And this is another incline. This is a much longer one. If I turn off, oh man, all of a sudden things get really difficult. Whew. Even in eco mode, it helps. Okay, now going down this hill is fun. As long as nobody's running on it. Yeah, so there you have it. Cannondale Moterra 3, upgraded with SRAM GX gear. Got this from my new friend Dewey, who's the bike guy over at Sun and Ski at the Rim in San Antonio, Texas. Freaking awesome bike, man. Definitely recommend trying an e-bike out if you never have. You know, I dismissed these things for the longest time because I kind of considered it just a form of cheating while you're trying to ride and, you know, taking away all of the challenge of biking. But, you know, if you're road biking, a little bit different story, right? But still, going uphill can drain you really quickly. It's coming downhill that's fun. On a bike like this, because they weigh so much more, they're far less aerodynamic than road bikes. Going uphill can be torture, and by the time you get to the top, you could be zapped of all your energy before you even start going downhill. That's where an e-mountain bike comes in really handy. And just the fact you can spend a lot more time out on it. Where these bikes come in handy is the fact that they give you the endurance you're looking for. They give you the ability to go out further and explore the trails longer, so you don't have to come back in right away. Anyways, guys, really cool bike. Definitely have to say I'm happy with it, this being my first true e-mountain bike. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.